uniforms folded, flag hangs on the wall. Traded steel and thunder for silence in the hall. The mission's over, the deployment's done, they said, but the war inside my head, it hasn't left its stain. Disappeared. The invisible wounds are the ones that are truly feared. I'm walking on a wire, the pressure's coming down. Is there anyone listening in this lonely town? Full speed ahead after battle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Full Speed Ahead here on Military Broadcast Radio, where we give veterans a voice. It is February 23rd, and we're wrapping up this month of February. So we've got one guest on for this last month, and she is a great guest coming on. I know we've had several conversations in the past on this show about whether it's military, the VA, whoever. There needs to be more assistance around the families, around the spouses, the children, that how to help their veterans when they come back either from deployment or out of service or any of those things. But before we get to that, let's go over the numbers, as we always do, shall we? We state, generically, 22 veterans commit suicide every day, right? We talk about that. Factor in your first responders and your civilians, and that number goes right around 30 a day. Now, we talked on the last week's show that the VA came out with their yearly veteran suicide report with numbers all the way up through 2023, and that's the 2025 report, of course. Numbers are slightly down to right around 6,400 veterans committing suicide. We're down to about 17 and a half a day now. Now, when you start looking and diving deeper into those numbers, top two things that is a causing factor for veteran suicide is that transition coming out of service. That's something we talk a lot on the show about, how hard it is for a lot of veterans, whether, they don't know that they're getting out, they're forced out. Maybe they got injured and they're getting out. Maybe they're forced out. There's a lot of different things that's going on. And when a veteran is not set up for that transition, they struggle. Or many times they think, okay, I've got all this experience, I've got all this training, I'm going to go out, I'm going to easily find another job. And they start looking in a couple months, and 6 months later, a year later, they're not finding that job that they're looking for. And so they start struggling. Another reason for the VA suicide, one of the higher ranked ones, is not getting the VA help. Now, whether that's on the veteran themselves or the VA or whatever the reason may be, the number is high as far as not seeking that VA mental health or health in general. I believe the number was right around 60% of veterans that commit suicide out of that 6,400 are not seeking the VA health. Now, I know the VA is working better. Some states have better VA locations than others. We've heard about some ones, in San Antonio a couple of times. They've had issues down there. But they are getting better. They're partnering with third-party groups, third-party doctors, whether it's for, different medical appointments, things like that, or they're actually working with the third-party groups now for the CMP exams, that disability rating. And so I had some experience recently with that, and I will, for one, say that that is a great group. QTC, they're great doctors in the Fort Worth area that are definitely helping out the veterans. So, um, the when we talk about ages as far as veteran suicide, 18 to 34 is the highest ranked age for veteran suicide. And that's one of the things that a lot of different places have been implementing more and more, is things that attract those younger veterans. Video gaming is a big one. I know the VFW has a video gaming center here in Denton. They always are holding contests out there for the different video games, things like that. They're popping up all over the state. More family oriented events is attracting the younger crowd. Also, not the VA report, but there are also statistics out there showing that younger veterans are not smoking as much as some of the older ones. So they're looking for other activities away from that smoke smell. Also, drinking, surprisingly, is kind of down and within that age range. However, it is still, I would say, a crutch for many of us veterans. So yeah, like I said, two highest things when it comes to veteran suicide, that transition and not getting the help. Age range 18 to 34. And females are slightly lower than the males. And so the numbers are slightly going down. Just not as much as and as fast, but again, that's going to take a lot more work, and it's going to take a lot more effort by different groups, the VA, VFW, American Legions, the government, all those different things. As we know, when it comes to big government entities like that, politics are involved, and we don't discuss that on the show. Not that it's not important. I just think, me for one, helping veterans is more important than discussing those actual politics. Because here we talk about the stuff that we can handle, the stuff that we can see, the tangibles of the day. That's the things that I like to see, the people I like to help, the one-on-ones, things like that. Anyways, let's break away from those numbers. District 21 had their VFW here in Fort Worth, had their district meeting this past Sunday in Granbury. Great meeting. Several different people running for Department of Texas offices were there campaigning and giving, the things that they do and don't want to see in it, and a lot of good candidates there. So I wish them all the best. District as well is we're working on nominating candidates to run in their different areas as well. So it's that time of year again, to say the least, for the VFW. Nominations are opening up this month, and they're going to go for a few months, voting in May. So this is the time that we need those younger veterans, the younger volunteers, to step forward and start bringing their ideas, bringing their actions, their leadership, everything that they learn from the military, bring that to the VFW and help affect change at the local level. Help the veterans in your community, because at the post, you're all about your community. And if you don't want to get involved in the district, state, national level, that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of people that would rather just work within the community, and that's great. So that's the VFW wrap up for that week. First full week of my new job down. I know I announced that last week, working for the county animal shelter under the sheriff's department here in Wise County. I will tell you that my coworkers now are much more amazing than the last round of coworkers I had, because if they talk too much now, all you do is feed them some snacks and rub the bellies, and they'll play with you, and then put them right back in the pen. But I will tell you, With that disability change that I announced not too long ago, it afforded me this opportunity to take a step back, do something a little more passionate. And I will say that 100% throughout last week is definitely felt a lot of stress relieved. Mental health is better. Just all around feeling better. It's not a hard job. It keeps you active. So at the end of the day, a little tired and worn out, but that's good. That's good for the mind. That's good for the body. Those veterans that are struggling, they always say exercise of the mind and body helps. So overall, I would say, this first week on the job, going absolutely amazing. And I would suggest to any veterans out there, if you have the opportunity to take a step back from something you don't necessarily like doing as far as a job is concerned, find something that you are passionate about, because it's something you enjoy. It's not really going to work, and it's going to a place that you're enjoying every day, and you can affect change or do good for the people. My passion is animals and veterans, and hopefully before too long I can merge those two with some sort of program, but that'll be down the road. With that. So February, we're coming to the end of February. Like I said, that means here in just a couple short months, the Battle Buddy Throwdown Cornhole Tournament here in Fort Worth is going to be happening at Post 8235. That is not just another event that the VFW is hosting. This is a district-sponsored event, and we're hosting it at a local VFW in the middle of 17 different posts within our district. And this event is all about raising awareness around veteran suicide and mental health, because that is something, as the chair for that within the district, that's something I decided to take on and do good and help people, and it's working. Our committee for this district, we're receiving phone calls from in the state of Texas and out of the state of Texas for veterans that are needing help, that are having those thoughts, that are contemplating taking that last final solution. And I am happy to say that on both those calls that we received, this committee was actually able to help those veterans with some help, getting them checked into either the local VA or just get their family in touch with them or someone else in touch with them to make sure that they're doing good. And so both veterans are still with us. They're doing better. And so that fills my heart full, because, that's what we're here for. So obviously this show is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Our committee is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But back to the Battle Buddy Throwdown Cornhole Tournament. That's going to be April 18th. We've got live music. We got a great speaker coming out, guest speaker. His name is Bruce Stacy. He's the chairman of the Air Power Foundation. 2-time Purple Heart, 2-time Bronze Star, 2-time Silver Star will be there talking about the importance of veteran suicide awareness, as well as how we can help the families. Because if you don't know, we do have a naval air base here in Fort Worth. And so there's a lot that comes with that, working around them as well. We've got Military Broadcast Radio. They're going to be out there. They're going to be set up on location, and they're going to be broadcasting some of the event, but they're also going to be sharing information on how you as a veteran can get involved in podcasting here on MVR for whatever discussion you want to get into. Anything from video games to cigars to veteran services to information of the day. We've got it here on MVR. So that's a wrap up for the week, this week. So like I said, we're going to get into our guest speaker. She is a spouse, and I'm excited to have her. Like I said, she brings a point of view that you don't often hear from, that we need to hear from more. Running through her bio a little bit, she calls herself a wife, a warrior, and a truth teller wrapped in resilience. Sharing her story, it's not just a story, she's igniting a movement. Her books are transformative guides designed for the women holding the line behind the front line. And it's not just veterans she's helping. She's also working with our first responders, spouses out there as well. From PCS moves to parenting solo, wearing invisible armor to reclaiming her voice, Jenna takes military and first responder wives on a journey back to purpose and a soul-stirring call to action for those who stand in the shadows of service of our military and first responder spouses. So this week's interview of the week, sponsored by Jersey Mike's, is going to be with Miss Jenna Griffith.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Jenna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you could be here. I appreciate it. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. A little chilly, but I'll get over it. I know a lot of people are chilly in Florida right now, and I know a lot of people have it worse, so I'm probably already getting screamed at by somebody up north.
I didn't know Florida got chilly. That's where all the snowbirds moved to.
I know. It's cold. It's cold for Florida.
I'm sure it is. It's been a little unusually cold for everybody everywhere this year. It's been a strange year as far as weather. I know we had quite a bit of ice here in Texas, and we are not built for that. And so that was definitely not expected, but we made it work. So welcome to the show. Why don't you take a quick minute and kind of introduce yourself? I ran down the bio a little bit, but I'm sure there's some more information back there that you're willing to share with everybody, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm excited for the show and just having a very casual conversation about, like you said, what something that's so important is not only, awareness around veteran suicide, but how does it affect the families? How can the spouses not only be supported, but be supportive to a veteran that might be struggling emotionally? It's something that I've experienced myself. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more during the show. But I'm excited because it's something that needs more awareness brought to it with the spouses, and just that need and that support, not only in general, but especially through that transitional period, which I'm sure, like I said, we'll get into a little bit deeper. But I am a first responder spouse, current, former military spouse. So it's still very near and dear to my heart. It's still something that completely affects my lifestyle. My husband still deploys all over the world. Now, instead of being shot at, he is rescuing people and works with an amazing nonprofit that repurposes veterans into humanitarian special operators. So they're out there saving the people who can't save themselves, whether it's through man-made natural disasters and combating human trafficking. But as you can imagine, when we went from military life to first responder life, I wasn't really excited about that, because after that transition period was so hard that I wanted what I thought at the time was a normal life. I now know I don't think that exists. So I've been really blessed to be able to share my story and my experience to help other spouses through those different periods to really kind of discover what it is that they want and how can they use their current gifts and their current experiences to really help each other and help other people, and most importantly, help their spouse through whatever they may be going through.
Right. Absolutely. So let's get into it. I mean, you're here to help a lot of spouses, but I'm sure like me and like so many others, there's a reason why you get into helping, right? Because it's something more than likely that you've gone through yourself and you don't want to see others struggle through it. I know that's why I do the podcast and everything else, because I don't want to see everybody else struggle like I did with that, especially with that transition. Right. And so, from a spouse standpoint, let's talk about this. When a veteran's coming out of the service, they have a TAP class, lasts a couple of days, and it's get your resume right, get your interview ready, get a nice suit, all that good stuff. But what do the spouses and families get for that transition?
Not much.
Nothing. I know.
Heartache, frustration, disorganization. I would say that was that. So just a little bit more about me. I am one of the many unfortunate statistics where our transition period was very much by surprise. It was due for medical reasons. It was not a full-time retirement situation. Right. And as we were leading up to that transition, as I said before, I was very excited thinking we're going to have this normal life and not have to live this lifestyle anymore. And not, out of my surprise, my husband absolutely just panicked, not knowing what he was going to do with the rest of his life. And we are one of the statistics that ended in divorce during the transition period. And that, as you can imagine, not only transitioning out of the service, but then your family's crumbling and falling apart. That's a whole nother stressor that I wasn't prepared for. I know he wasn't prepared for, and it's not really talked about a lot. So it's something that I'm starting to bring more into the conversation, even though it's still, something that affects my life to this day. But I think a lot of people do end up, unfortunately, divorcing during that transition period. And especially on the spouse's perspective, we don't have any title. And not that we should have a title, but we have essentially nothing to show for the service that we also were involved in. And that's a whole nother ball game that we're dealing with. And that took me many, many years to process through emotionally and to figure out, well, who am I now? And how do I get to where I want to be? And then, several years later, because apparently I have a type, I fall in love with a veteran and now he's a first responder. And so, that's kind of a little more of my backstory when we talk about the mental health around transitioning out of the military.
Right. Yeah. So, there's that joke that says there's three things that you need to have to be a veteran. And that's a DD-214, bad credit, and a divorce.
Oh, I hate that.
I know. Well, I mean, jokes come from some sort of reality, right? And unfortunately,
I'm 3 for 3 on those.
I'm right there with you on the third. I'm on the third and final one. I'm not doing this again because I found the love of my life now, and that's it. So, but unfortunately, when it comes to veterans, not just when you're, getting out of service, but all throughout the career, there's the divorce rate is skyrocketing among veterans. And that is one of the key factors, or, one of the important factors, I guess you could say, when it comes to veteran suicide is the divorce. And then when you factor in, like you said, you're losing your personal life, your personal self, and you're losing your career all at the same time. It's like your world is coming to an end. So obviously, both of you need help at that point. So.
Yeah. And if I may ask you a question.
Yeah.
How often when you were in the military were you taught proper communication with your spouse?
None. None. Our communication was do what I tell you to do and do it now. And that obviously does not work with a spouse, right? So no, they don't put you through communication courses and feeling courses or anything like that. It's, it's, you go to work and you live one way and you come home and try to live a different way. And it's like you're living two different lives and it's hard to do. It really is.
Well, what about during TAP? Did they teach you how to successfully share how you were processing through that? While you were going through?
Nope, they said go to the VA.
Just
sign up at the VA. That's about it. The military does not teach communication between spouses and families. They give you a little bit of just keep in mind that it's going to take some time to change, and so be careful on major decisions and things like that. But as far as getting in depth about communication and stuff like that, there's definitely nothing that not when I was in anyways. And that was back in 2011, but you're absolutely right. It's really hard. So, you're on the second one, second marriage and first responder now. And so now, how is that going? Were you there for that transition as well? Or was you?
I was not. And that was actually really important to me. When I first connected with him and realized, he's a veteran too, I immediately thought, I need to make sure this guy has gone through, because many don't ever, process their emotions, really go through the healing process and kind of try to break down that whole side of them. But
Right.
Just like you, I am the third and hopefully the final. But that's because he went through that. After he realized, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't fix my relationship with my children by marrying someone else to come in and be the mom. Oh, it must be something that I need to do within myself. And by the time we had met, he'd already gone through that and really
Good.
kind of processed through what he experienced, because he did do 20 years and retired, and he was in a very high stress position while he was in the service. He was in the Air Force. And I had gone through that as well. That was really important to me when I went through my divorce, was not to be dating and to really try to heal through that. But I didn't know how, to be honest with you. I was reading every book that I could, listening to podcasts, trying to talk to as many people as I could who may have gone through it, but there weren't a lot of people talking about it. And not only was I going through divorce, transition out of the military, I almost felt like I had this weird kind of scarlet letter on my head that was like, she's no longer one of us. And I will be the first to say, no one ever treated me that way. That was something I internalized, was, well, now I'm not part of this community anymore. And you know how divorces go. People are talking crap about each other behind each other's backs. And so that also played into the community that I once had, with me internalizing that I wasn't safe to contact anybody, reach out to anybody, try to figure out, what's my next step? What am I supposed to do? And I moved out of the military community completely. So now I'm in a whole new town, which is the town I grew up in. So I had people that I knew, but no one understood what military life was about. I used to have friends, and even my sisters watch Army Wives, and they'd be like, is that what your life is like? I'm like, no. That's nothing like my life is about. And so then I lacked understanding from my new outside world as to what I was going through. And I know a lot of veterans and spouses go through that when they, they finally transition out and they move to their dream city or wherever they had talked about moving to. And then it's like, wait, what do you mean you don't understand that I have traumas, or that I have triggers, or that I may need a minute? I need you to back off just for a second. It's tough.
No, it really is, because, a lot of people give spouses flack because some of them think, maybe they misspeak and maybe it's something else. But, when you said a few minutes ago that you served, right, because he served, let's break it down for the people that are out there. Okay. The veteran goes on a 7-month deployment. House still has to get taken care of, right? Whether it doesn't matter whether it's a guy or a girl, somebody's at home taking care of the kids. If you have kids, somebody's at home paying the bills. Somebody's at home going through funerals and classrooms or whatever their life is. And you're doing it alone, right? And sometimes with no support system, because depending on where you're from or where you're living, you may not have family around you. You may have some of your veteran friend or your, military families around there to help you out. But then you bring the veteran home after 7 months. Okay. So he's been gone for 7 months. He knows the military life, the structured wake up at 6, go to bed at 5, eat chow, do what I'm told. You got to come home into a family that's been self-sustained for 7 years or 7 months without him. So now he's got to integrate into that, but then the family also has to integrate with him. And that's where you start butting heads, because everybody's used to their set ways. Everybody's used to the way things are getting done. Well, dad's home or mom's home now, and we got to get back to this routine. And that's where a lot of the communication, like you talk about, we need to figure out what that communication looks like. Because if you don't work on that and you don't come back together, you're leaving here in the next year or two, and it starts all over again. And so, that's what it is. So, I say that to ask you this: is there that you know of? Is it getting better as far as them providing assistance or help? As far as, the families, what to expect when the veteran comes home or anything like that? Because I ask because you we're with someone who was in and transitioned out. You're with a veteran that was already retired, but now a first responder. And let's face it, our first responders and military are basically the same people. One's just,
Some could be
a
worse.
local job, and one's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does the support system for you look like to make it through those kinds of things?
I'll be super transparent. I have been, working with my business Service and Soul to bring more awareness, bring more support to spouses. I've had dozens, if not 100 conversations with veteran nonprofits, veteran organizations, corporations that support or hire veterans, etc. They talk to me and they're like, Jenna, oh my gosh, this is incredible. There's nothing like this. No one's really supporting the spouses. This is so great. Oh, but we really want to focus on the veterans. Like, good luck to you. This is going to really help a lot of spouses. And I'm like, you guys are missing the key backbone to the issue, because any veteran, I mean, I'm not want to speak for all of you, but maybe you'll agree. How much easier would things have been had your spouse been supported? Really, because from my perspective, when I was a spouse and I was young, that's the other thing. You're talking about statistics, the 18 to 35-year-olds, more than 50% of married enlisted are under the age of 25. They don't even know themselves yet. They're just being told, like you said, the service members being told, show up at this time. Here's what you eat. Here's what you wear. Be back here and you're leaving at this time. Oh, it's your anniversary. Sorry, you're going to have to leave our card. And the spouse is subliminally learning, I'm second, no matter what. Don't ask questions. Don't cause a fuss, because someone else definitely has it worse than me, and he's fighting for our country.
Right.
I've got to be quiet. I'm so selfish if I say a single word. Well, you add that up year over year over year over deployment over deployment, you've got a bitter and resentful spouse. And I obviously can speak more to the women because we are more emotional. I've met a few of our male spouses. They have, in my opinion, even less support because they're strong men, so they don't need support.
We don't need help.
Yeah, and there's still really there's amazing people and amazing nonprofits. MilSpouse Transition being one of them. MilSpouse Fest. Even the MIC is bringing more awareness around our families and our spouses and really supporting the whole of our service member, because that's where we're really lacking. So as far as current support, I've seen it because I've been hired and brought in to help with some of our special forces units. They've got a little more funding to work with to really start pouring into the spouses. But as far as our larger, units, it's really not there. And then we go through transition. Like I said, we've got, I want to say it's over 100,000 veteran nonprofits. Only 40% of them are actively working within the veteran community, but they're still really focused on the veteran. And a big thing that I'm seeing too is people are more drawn and more willing to give to these nonprofits for the veteran who's struggling. They're also not educated on the spouses and why that needs support.
Right.
So it's like, how can we bridge that gap between our communication with those who are super passionate, as they should be, about our veterans, and say, hey guys, there's a whole piece of this we're missing. Gary Sinise has done a great job with his foundation with helping the families and helping the children and really giving programs for them. I'm hoping to see more people follow suit with that.
Right. Yeah. And it's not just, the transition or, the coming home from deployment that the veterans need training on. But, when we start talking about the suicide statistics, those families need training or care or network or something, whatever you want to call it, to know what signs to look for in their veteran that is struggling. You know, what are those key words that I need to be listening for? Or what are those actions that I need to see? You know, okay, he's drinking more. He's cutting away from his friends more. Those are the signs of somebody that's starting to have those thoughts. And, you
Yeah.
know, there's not a whole lot of that out there. And so, as far as your perspective from the spouse, is there, did you experience any of that with either of your veterans and the signs that, you know, from a spouse perspective?
Yeah. And this is not easy to talk about, but it's
Mhm.
necessary to talk about. And I'll be honest, Josh, I've never, ever, ever spoken about this.
Mhm.
With my first marriage, I witnessed firsthand, I don't want to call them suicide attempts, but
Mhm.
physical, personal harm.
Mhm.
Ooh, I'm sweating. um,
This is exactly why we need to have these conversations, is
yeah,
because if people aren't going to talk about it, you know, they're not going to share the experiences and what to look out for. So I appreciate you opening up.
yeah,
You know, I know
yeah,
it's hard. It's hard for me to share my own story, but
yeah.
you know, if we can't accept that and overcome that within ourselves, then how do we expect those that we're trying to help, you know,
Yeah.
to open up a little bit?
There's something I had many, many evenings where I would have to call my then father-in-law and his brother to the house because I'm now torn between I don't know how to save you and I've got to protect my kids.
Hmm.
You know, we had two
Yeah.
really small children in the house. And there's only so much that I felt like I could do.
Right.
You know, I was still young. I'm talking this was in like 27 to 30 age range. And
Hmm.
we have young children and he was in a special operations unit. So we didn't really do the 7-month deployments. We did 90
Yeah.
days home for 60, 90 days home for 30, you know,
Hmm.
off and on like that. So there really wasn't even like a big gap of time for us to kind of recenter and regroup within ourselves. And I definitely I didn't get information. I didn't get education on how to, I guess, walk alongside him in that moment.
Hmm.
But there was so much more than just that. There was so much more happening behind closed doors that I never, ever spoke to anybody about,
Yeah.
ever. And so it was embarrassing, is how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt embarrassed. Why? Because why is it seeming like their family's doing well or their marriage is happy? Look at that home. We didn't have homecomings.
Hmm.
You know, we didn't have the plane come in and they come off and we run. No, he just showed up at the house one day,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So there was that extra layer of I really was not in control of our life
Hmm.
because I didn't know when he was leaving. He'd leave in the middle of the night sometimes and come home randomly at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask for help. I'm sure you've talked about this in so many of
Hmm.
your episodes, but we don't know how to. The veteran, the service member doesn't know how to, and I'm telling you, the spouses don't either. They,
Right.
a lot of the spouses that I've worked with had a very similar stories to mine where it's like we just get pushed and pushed and pushed and
Hmm.
pushed and pushed, and eventually we're like, I can't do this anymore. I
Yeah.
cannot do this anymore because I'm going crazy.
Right.
You
And
know?
that's the thing is, you know, the whether it's the suicidal ideation or the whatever you want to call it, the depression, it's not just the veteran that it's affecting, it affects the entire family. And at some point you have to find that line or, you know, walk away. Like at what point do I walk away? Because, you know, mother's intuition is to protect the kids. And at some point you've got to make that call. And that's a hard call to make. I completely sure it is. So, you know, thank you for sharing that. Let's take a quick break. And then I think that's a perfect segue into coming back. And let's talk about when we come back, how you're helping these spouses now so that they're not struggling like that. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be back after just a few messages.
dizzy, spinning rapidly. To miss another beat is such a tragedy. Now this moment feels like all eternity. It should feel so comfortable. It's all in the secrets of the open hearts club. Tear it down, there is no need to scream and shout. When everything seems crazy, reflection now. A peace of mind should not include deception's help. It should feel so comfortable. All eyes stare into the scene, leaving bad taste in our memories. How can we all find change? It's all in the secrets of the open hearts club.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on Full Speed Ahead After Battle on Military Broadcast Radio. That was the band Die Tired, and if you haven't heard of them, definitely go check them out. They're all about raising awareness around veterans. If you go check out the NBR website, you can find the collaboration shirt that we did with the band Die Tired up there. Proceeds going to NBR to help our fellow podcasters and things out there. So my guest tonight, Jenna Griffith, spouse and author and all around badass woman, it sounds like, going through it with the veterans. So we talked about the struggles, Jenna, that you went through, and how things that we learn, we turn those around into a positive, and how to help other people. And so you wrote a couple of books, Service and Soul, Strength and Soul. Let's talk about those. What is the help, or what are those books about that you're empowering the spouses?
Yeah, I was really called to write my first book, Service and Soul, when my husband got that job offer for the nonprofit. Because when we first met, he was building custom homes and I was doing real estate. So of course I'm like, power couple, we're going to play the real estate world.
Yeah.
And to a point you made earlier, that was not fulfilling him. He had all these skills. He had been trained in so many different ways that he thought he was letting that kind of slip away. And so when he got offered that job, obviously I had some resistance to that. I didn't want to go back into that lifestyle because guess what? It didn't work that well the first time.
Right.
And once we really got into it and met with the owners of it and saw their hearts for what they were really trying to do, which is not only help humanity, but also help repurpose veterans and give them that sense of need again, like being needed, especially with everything that they had been through and everything that they have been trained in. And I thought to myself, well, if they're going to do this, which is great, and my husband was the first one, I said to myself, I'm not going to be the only spouse that's going to have any sort of pushback on this. I'm not going to be the only spouse that's going to, really want to just shut this down. And so I started basically just saying to the owners, as you repurpose more veterans, just give them my number. Happy to be support, And shortly into that, as you can imagine, all sorts of triggers started coming back up of my past life as a spouse and being left behind, taking care of the house again, taking care of the kids again, etc.
Right.
And I thought, I know that God's putting me through this to help other people. So I almost saw it as like a documentation of what I had experienced as a spouse. I almost felt like I want to reach the spouse while she's actively a spouse to a service member or a first responder to try and help prevent her, completely becoming lost is essentially what my thought was. That's what service and soul in and of itself is about. It's for the active duty spouse, for service members and our first responders to say, hey, here's how you can stay whole within yourself, find your own purpose in this world, but still be a great support system to your service member. Let's not wait until the transition out to we're feeling lost and feeling scared to start discovering who we are. Let's do it right now and kind of work our way into that so that the transition period, whenever that does come, is much smoother. And so it's all about going into, the biggest way to heal through anything, right, is from awareness. So there's a lot in the book about different types of traumas. What traumas could you be bringing into your marriage that you experienced when you were younger? Whether it was a child or during, teenage. And as you know, a lot of service members, they sign up for the military to escape something, to escape a poor environment or to escape, maybe a toxic family or toxic situation. Yeah. So it's really important that I brought awareness around that instead of just saying, hey, we're going to think happy thoughts and say affirmations and we're going to be so happy now. They both are really workbooks in their own way too. I've got sections throughout to help them be a little more interactive. And then Strength and Soul is about life after the military marriage. So you're no longer the spouse whose husband's a hero. Now you might be the spouse whose husband, is painting houses because that's the only job he could find. Or, now you're struggling with bills because some people don't get retirement, as you know. Some people are leaving with that stability. And so for me, with the unit that we were in, I had so much pride being in that unit and I no longer was tied to that anymore. What do I do now? How do I find out what it is that I want to do now? So it's really diving deeper into the woman after. Yes, men. I've actually had many, many men read my books. It's not geared, but again, I do think it's important to note that I am a woman coming from an emotional perspective, but throughout both books are very practical tools to work through that. And in Strength and Soul, I do incorporate the service member and the spouse. I've got a whole chapter to really teach them both the different levels of the masculine and the feminine and how we can recognize that in each other so we can actually work together during conflict and we can work on communicating better. And so what I do, I've got different workshops that I offer. When I started with Service and Soul, it was, like I said, a lot for the active duty spouse. I'm kind of struggling with, maybe they're feeling abandoned, they're feeling unseen, they're feeling unheard, they're feeling underappreciated. A lot of that is because we're expecting our service member to give that to us. How can we give that to ourselves so that we take pressure off of the both of us? Because our service members have enough pressure then to come home and figure out how to make their spouse whole and complete. We need to know how to make ourselves whole and complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Strength and Soul, we do a lot of couples workshops. My husband comes in with me to also speak about his experience and how he and we've been together 9 years now. And when we do have our bumps in the road, because every marriage does, we don't panic anymore because we know how to communicate with each other. We know how to bring out of the other what we need to accomplish. I now know he's not abandoning me just because he needs 5 minutes to process what I just said. It's not abandonment that he needs time to kind of almost talk himself out of thinking he's not fulfilling or he's weak or whatever the case may be. That's what the Strength and Soul is about. It's really about taking our trials and really using those to our benefit.
Absolutely. I think, you said communication, and I don't think there's a single thing in this world that can't be fixed without better communication. I mean, that's something everybody can always improve on, is communication, because without it, we're just going to collapse. Whether it's communicating with yourself and understanding, I need some time to breathe, I need to step away and take a minute for myself, or, communicating with a spouse. And along with that, a lot of people ask me when they come to me for advice on, what makes you happy? Well, you have to make yourself happy first, right? You got to worry about yourself and take care of yourself, because if you can't be happy, there's no way that the people around you are going to be happy, or the people that you're trying to help are going to be happy. You got to take care of yourself first. Then go out and do that. And I'm sure that's exactly what you did. Once you found what worked for you, now here you are sharing those experiences with other spouses and women and saying, this worked for me. It might not be the answer for you, but here's a starting point. So,
well, I like to say, and this is not proper grammar, but I like to say that everything is figure outable. A lot of times, especially in a season of deployment, Murphy's Law, what happens every time a spouse deploys? The house floods, or the HVAC breaks, or whatever. And we panic. We start resenting the service member for being gone while we deal with that, as if it's their fault. And so it's really turning, like I said, helping these spouses understand that everything's figure outable. It is not the end of the world. And to figure out how to self-regulate, which is just a more technical term of what you said, is how do I feel whole and complete within myself? And that's a big thing that I talk about in my first book, is the difference between being selfish and self-ish. There's a huge difference, and you need to be self-ish. So knowing when to say no, knowing how to set proper boundaries, providing empathy when necessary, but not giving yourself away just to provide empathy for somebody else. Knowing when to show up. I love that I have such a great group of friends that I could literally back out on someone 5 minutes before plans and just say, sister, I need some, I can't give right now. And that they're like, good for you. Absolutely. Take the time that you need. That's important to your tribe.
Absolutely. And yes, it's great when you have that support system that understands that, there are times that you need to cancel or take a breather. And, if you can find that tribe and that network, that is the people you need to be with, because as we said so many times on here before, it's just like going through boot camp or deployment or the war. You're not doing this alone, right? You've got people to the left and right of you. And, same for the spouses, hopefully. You build that network between the male spouses and everybody else that you can count on. And so, that's great. So we have your website here, serviceandsoul.com. Right. That's where people can go get both those books or check out more information on your workshops. We put that into the comments there for the people listening as well. Serviceandsoul.com. Be sure to check it out on Jenna.
And I've got a lot of great
Griffith.
free gifts right there.
She's giving away free stuff.
Free training videos, free worksheets to kind of piggyback onto the books. But I mean, obviously you should get the books, but you can also start at the free gifts. It's not that you need to read the book and then get the free gifts, but just to kind of see how you can work through some things there. So definitely check that out.
There you go. Absolutely. That's awesome. Everybody loves free stuff, right?
Yeah.
So great. Well, y'all is checking in. Be sure to check out that website, grab those books. Like she said, it's not just for the women. The men are going to get something out of it too. It's just written from a female perspective. And sometimes they understand the emotional stuff better than the men do. And sometimes that's what we need to read, Okay. Guys reading through the book and okay, well, maybe that's how my wife is feeling.
Yes.
Maybe I need to check it out. So do that. All right, Jenna, what do you know about football? Weird question. I know. Sports ball.
Hold on. Look what's on my husband's desk.
Oh, geez.
He's a Rams fan.
Rams fan. Before, after, no. Anyways,
right.
I asked that because coming to the end of the show, no. I just, my Cowboys don't ever do anything since '93, so whatever. But I asked because at the end of the show, we're coming up at the top of the hour. I ask all my guests, I run them through the 2-minute drill, right? I give you 2 minutes to speak your mind, speak your heart, whatever you want to manifest out into the world to whoever you want to send it out to. This time is yours.
I can say whatever I want.
Except for that one word I told you not to.
I don't ever say that word. So
okay. Then we're good. Go for it.
I'm not worried about that. No, well, first, I'm just very grateful for you to have me on tonight. I really am praying that this goes to the right people who need to see this, need to hear this, are going to do just that. And especially if someone's watching that maybe knows someone who needs this message, please share this with them. Please share it on your socials, share the YouTube link, continue to pour in and connect to this community. It's just so important that we do that. And also I'm feeling led to anyone who supports veterans and supports the families, reach out to us. Reach out to Josh, reach out to myself. There are so many ways that you can get involved, whether it's volunteering, whether it's financially, whether it's praying for people, whatever the case may be, it's still very much needed. And of course, I'm really passionate about the spouses and how it trickled. It's a ripple effect into the entire family. So please share Service and Soul website, Service and Soul. We have a private Facebook group that we have the spouses join so we can just be there for each other. Just, again, I cannot stress the community any more than that. So if you are a corporation that hires veterans, call me, because they need support even after the resume has been written up for them. Like Josh said earlier with the TAP program, yeah, we've got awesome organizations that help these veterans find job placement, but we're still missing what needs to be looked at in here first to build that resiliency and ultimately give you a better employee. So very grateful to be here. Thankful. Grab my books.
Well, Jenna, thank you so much for coming on Full Speed Ahead After Battle. A great conversation, and I'm so happy to have a spouse's perspective. Like I said before, I think our families and our spouses need just as much training as we do, whether it's through that transition or any aspect. What the warning signs for that suicidal veteran or any other signs that they need that help. And so thank you for taking on that goal of helping our spouses and the families out there. And I wish you the best of luck with that. And you are welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great night, Jenna.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. All right, ladies and gents, that brings us to the top of the hour here on Full Speed Ahead After Battle. That was Jenna Griffith bringing her viewpoints as a spouse to veterans and first responders. They need the help just as much as we do, right? You're living with your spouse, your family. They need to look out for those warning signs too. What to look for, what to notice. That way they can be there to check you, hold you accountable, or tell you it's time that you need to go seek that help. 'Cause if you're not going to realize it within yourself, hopefully they will. And like she said, go check out those 2 books. You got the Before the Service. It gives you the service and soul. It gives you the tips on while you're still in. And then the other one is about help after service, the aftermath. And so both great topics. So thank her so much. And like we always say, every show, it's all about the network. You served alongside some of the best people you'll ever know, some of your best friends that you'll ever have, some of the most amazing heroes that this country has to offer. And just because you're out of service doesn't mean you're fighting this battle alone. You still have the help, whether it's the veteran, the spouses, everybody's got some help. All you got to do is just ask, because there's people out there, MBR, me, Jenna, VFWs, American Legions. There's so, like she said, there's so many veteran organizations out there helping veterans right now. Just reach up and ask. So next week's guest is a returning guest, our first returning guest, Rita Honeycutt. She's coming back to us. If you heard her before, she talks about mental illness among veterans and how she helps them. But she's also written a book. And so we're going to go a little bit more in depth on how she's been helping since then and what that looks like. And so we'll be back next week on the first Monday of March. We're at the end of February already. We'll be ringing in March. So we'll be looking forward to that and our next guest. And for those of you just now tuning in, this is Josh McCabe, your mental health coach here for veterans and first responders on Full Speed Ahead After Battle here on the Military Broadcast Radio, where we give a voice to the veterans. Tune in next week. Rita Honeycutt, myself, we'll be here talking more. All right. Stay safe. Be careful. And always remember, you're not in this alone. It's okay to ask for help. Dismissed.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness, one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up. Stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.